When it comes to government mismanagement, there are few better examples in the United States than frankly, the deepest of the blue big cities, and Los Angeles is no exception. Now, you've heard me say this before, being from New Orleans, having lived through Katrina, we get it. We know what this looks like, but just who the heck is Karen Bass, and how did she ever rise to the position that she's in? If you look at her resume, one has to wonder, because there's nothing there to suggest that she should ever be managing anything at either a local, a state, or a federal level. But yet, somehow, some reason, of course, she is the best person for the job that George Soros could find. Renegade Online.
And this is the mayor. This is Karen Bass here. This is from a couple of days ago. People bringing to the attention that she has cut 50 million. Some say collectively closer to 100 million over the last couple of years. I've seen a variety of information out there, but knowing that what is not in debate is that the fire department's budget has been cut. Now remember, this is Los Angeles. This is California. They have, again, they boast the 7th or 8th largest economy in the world. In the world. Like, if you took California out and you just separated it from the United States, its gross domestic product is bigger than most of the G20. Okay? Now, ask yourself, why is it that so many companies, so many businesses are leaving the state, trying to get out of there as fast as they can? Gee, I wonder, how is it a state with so much plenty in it runs light on basic services that a state government or a local county or city should, at their most fundamental nature, be prioritizing and providing to its citizenry? Two things, simply: law enforcement and a fire department. That's it. Those are the two biggest threats to any city, to any law enforcement, fire department. That's it.
Hang on, I'm writing this down. This is really good stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how simple it is.
By the way, Valiant, people say, why do we harp on woke? Why do we harp on DEI and ESG every week? Why do we do it? And why do we think it's essential? Yeah, it took one generation. It took 2 decades to destroy California. They made California into Venezuela light in 20 years.
And it's because of people like this, who apparently loves visiting Cuba and Castro and communism when she was growing up, who was a philosophy major and a social worker, from what I know.
Highly
and then has basically spent her life working for government. And this all this person knows. And this is exactly the kind of shit show you wind up with when you elect people like this. And again, speaking from experiences, because we have one just like her from California as the mayor of New Orleans for the last several years. Let's listen to this idiot.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning?
She was in Ghana. She went to Ghana for some nonsense. Like, what the F does the mayor of Los Angeles need to be flying back and forth to Ghana for, with probably just like LaToilette here from New Orleans, who would fly to Hawaii and Paris and all this, and she would take her friends who were her advisors and, people like that, and her boyfriend, the bodyguard, and everybody else, and build the city of New Orleans like $100 grand for these trips to Hawaii and Paris.
Well, you got some quote unquote sister cities out of that, right? I'm sure you did. Those quote unquote sister cities.
Paris was the sister city for obvious reasons.
Okay, and that does so much for cities. I mean, having sister city status, a big deal.
She could have gotten on the airplane by herself with one other person, didn't need to fly first class, number one, didn't have to stay in like one of the most expensive hotels in Paris, and then bring a bunch of her friends with her and did all this stuff. That's a trip that, literally, I think she billed the city, if memory serves, for that trip. It was like $80,000.
Well,
It was insane.
Yeah, but she was trying to avoid climate change. It was
must have been it. Yeah,
it was back there in third class. Climate change was waiting to get her.
But I mean, that's what they're asking her about. And just look at her expression. Like, she's just trying to avoid all this. She doesn't want to answer anything because she has no answer, because she's incompetent and she doesn't belong there.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor?
So what you can't tell right now, and I forgot to mention, this is important. She's trying to get off the airplane coming back from Ghana. This is one of those airplane, little walkways from the terminal that leads you out. You walk into the plane from. Yeah, but she's trying to get off this thing, and the media is immediately showing up. The guy is standing 3 feet from her face, and she's deliberately trying to ignore him.
Valiant, the trick here is, so people understand, so the walkway, you're exactly right, connects to the plane to the terminal, right? Okay, well, the plan was for her to not go through the terminal, so she doesn't have to answer the press. So you're going to notice they're going to divert her out onto the runway, where she's going to get picked up by LA government vehicles and taken out. This guy managed to get back there somehow onto the walkway between the terminal and the plane. And she wasn't ready for that. And that's why it's so wonderful.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
How did this Irish
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
That's what she's thinking.
Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position?
I love it. He goes for the throat, because let me tell you what, this is going to be the best part of 2025. The name that these assholes are going to hate more than Donald Trump's being thrown in their face is Elon Musk. Oh, and you could almost hear it pucker on her when he said Elon Musk. And she's not even trying, and this is the thing that she's not even trying to say, I will answer questions when I get back to my office, please. She is just deliberately ignoring him.
In all fairness, in her mind, she's writing a poem about a million cows breaking wind and what it's doing to the planet. So she really is being productive right now.
I'm going to tell you what part of me thinks, because the type of attitude, and she's talked about this in the past because she really does think this. I think her attitude is, how dare you question the first black woman mayor of Los Angeles?
Right. If I could slug you right in the malarkey mouth that you have, I would. That's what she's thinking.
That's kind of the leftist attitude when it comes to this kind of crap. Because how many times do we see race or gender used as some type of defense by not by the media for certain, but if you have a left-leaning, a super hyper left-wing black female in a position like this, I would be far more shocked not to hear this individual use race and gender as a shield against the audacity of a reporter to question her in a time like this.
And she's probably fairly happy. I mean, she did make Los Angeles look more like Cuba.
This is true.
Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them?
There's the getaway door.
Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
And that's it. Just sitting there deadpan. I honestly, I think there's a part of her that just doesn't give a damn, because I think she's so truly self-deluded that she probably truly does not believe in her heart of hearts that she bears any responsibility, that the leadership that came before her, the Democrat leadership, bears any responsibility for this. This is the problem when you have career government employees. And I want to say career politicians, because she hasn't been, but what she has been, I mean, she's been in politics a long time. She was a House member before she was mayor in Los Angeles, but what she is more akin to is a career bureaucrat. I mean, she went to college for, social work and philosophy or psychology or whatever she studied, and then basically went right into working for the government, one form or fashion or another. And when you have people like this that have been buried in that for their entire lives, they simply do not have the cognitive capacity to think and function like normal, free people. They do not have the cognitive capacity to think and act in a wise or intelligent, business, logical manner. They are not capable of being everything is through the lens of, well, we're the government. We can always tax more. We can get more. We'll get a grant. We'll do this. By the way, since I'm the mayor and I'm black and female, all the rich white people in Los Angeles, well, maybe they owe me something. They owe me some first-class trips to Ghana and wherever the hell else I want to go. Because I'm telling you, this is what the mayor of New Orleans, LaToilette, has the same thought process. I know these freaking people. These crazy California lefties is what I'm talking. They feel like they're owed. When they reach this point in government, they feel like they're owed. So there's a lot of Republicans out there that think that too in Washington. Don't get me wrong.
Electricians make power turn on in your house. Plumbers make water get there. I can come up with a bunch of other things. Doctors put you back together again. Politicians, though, they build statues of themselves. That's what they provide to the world. And communists, well, they just make a mess of things. And she's politician and communist. So add them together, and what do you get? Bippity boppity, big fires.
Dregs, thank you. I've seen this. Okay. I have this tagged in my bookmarks. There's a 15-minute version of this. I was like, I can't play that whole thing on the show. That's too long. So this one's apparently 2 minutes and 45. This is the same, but I saw him. I'm like, this is the same dude. So this must be a shortened clip from the other video, if this is the one I'm thinking of. I believe it is. So let's play it. He talks about who is Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. And I found this to be fascinating because I didn't realize how bad this is. It sounds just like our crappy mayor in New Orleans. An absolute piece of trash, waste of human life that should not be in charge of a toaster.
November 7, 1983. Remember this date, but first, let me introduce you to Karen Bass. Back in the 1970s, community activist Karen Bass went on at least 15 trips to Cuba, many with a group.
Why are they're always community activists? Like, every time that we get these stories, I mean, this is like this, whether it was Barack Obama, the community organizer, a community activist, it's usually just, again, it's all code language for one thing: communist agitator. This is what it boils down to: Marxist agitator.
Group known as the Venceremos Brigade, a Marxist group started by the Castro regime to subvert American interests, weaken democracies, and spread communism around the world.
Oh, so she was part of an actual communist organization founded by Justin Trudeau's dad.
Founded in 1969, the Venceremos Brigade organized trips to Cuba every year for half a century. They attracted the most radicalized and delusional segments of the American left, including overtly Maoist and pro-Soviet communist groups. In fact, a Los Angeles police investigator who infiltrated the group testified to Congress saying that to be a member of the brigade, you had to be confirmed as a Marxist-Leninist. As a brigadista and then moving up the ranks to organizer for the Venceremos Brigade, Karen Bass visited Cuba every 6 months.
She's so competent.
Mission to radicalize young, impressionable American leftists in terrorist tactics and guerrilla warfare. Members of the Venceremos Brigade were even taught how to make bombs.
Jesus Christ.
Karen Bass admits on her many pilgrimages to Cuba, she went to see Fidel Castro speak several times, even calling him charismatic. And upon his death, praised him, saying, "The passing of Commandant en Jefe is a great loss to the people of Cuba."
And again, just giving you an idea of just who this person is, this nearly 70-year-old mayor that's the mayor of Los Angeles now, how this person was brought up, what type of doctrinal information that she was steeped in as a college student. And think back to those days. Think back. Remember, this was the day when for people her age, like college age, in the 70s and into the early 80s, 20 and 30-something-year-olds back then, especially on the left, I mean, they were fans. A lot of them were fans of Castro. Remember how popular the Che Guevara shirt got with kids years later? Like, that was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. You know, somebody who was a mass murderer. That's how these people think. And now, yes, now she's the mayor of Los Angeles. And you wonder why you have the incompetency that you do. Frankly, the inherent racism that you do with people like this. Does it surprise anybody? I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
Even though the people of Cuba see him as a dictator who impoverished their island. Another group, the M19, took its belief in revolutionary anti-imperialism to extremes, violent extremes.
I don't know about this, but I'm going to get clear. Nothing to suggest that Karen Bass is, you know, some type of crazy terrorist or, you know, violent or anything like that. And at least nothing I've ever heard of. But you get the point here. My point, I wanted to show the part about, you know, this group and all of her trips to Cuba and how she used to talk about this. And this was a big inspiration to her and all this. But this is the kind of stuff that we're dealing with.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.